You've had a lot of fun with your JAKL from Palmetto State Armory. This thing has been a blast at the range, so it's time to give her a nice cleaning. Now, this video is purely on what I have learned over the years on what I like to use to clean this particular rifle. This could also work for any other rifle in your inventory. However, this video is on how to clean a JAKL. So if you're a new owner to a PSA JAKL, this is how you're gonna do it. All right, so what you're gonna need obviously is a JAKL. I mean, that's what we're here for. Now, kind of going over here, a couple of things. Some are needed, some are kind of optional as well. First and foremost, you're gonna need a bore snake. This one is designed for the 5.56-223 size bore. This is super important. It has these ridges. It has a built-in, essentially a built-in bore brush right into the snake. Now, what's great about this is it cleans it out and allows you to have some more pull with the rope versus pushing a rod through. Used to use rods. They're very easy to bend in such a small bore. Really like the bore snake, works really well. We'll talk about that when we get to it. You may want a couple of these right here. This is a brush to get kind of in the nooks and crannies, which there are quite a few in the bolt carrier assembly, as well as the actual upper up in here. You might need a Tipton pick or some kind of pick device, preferably polymer like this one. Get kind of in, again, those nooks and crannies. And to get into the nooks and crannies, you're gonna want some patches. These are designed for that bore. They also work for handguns as well. Oil you may wanna use, or cleaner, solvent, preservative, all that good stuff. You may wanna opt for CLP. I do like break-free CLP. They come in these big bottles here, cleaner, lubricant, preservative. It's a general purpose, so not everyone likes it, but it's worked really well for me over the years. Not a problem with anything that I've used to clean it, but a lot of folks like Ballistol, which is really good. This actually might be useful for something like this, where you want to get into a nice coating on the inside to kind of help break down a lot of the stuff in there to get a nice cleaning, because this is an aerosol can, so I may end up using this. And then if it's really dirty, let's say you've shot 10,000 rounds through it, right? You may want to go to Hops number 9. Now, this is a next level cleaner. It's been around for years and decades, right? I mean, I used to use this all the time for especially ARs because they get so fouled up, especially a DI system where this is a piston system. DI just dumps all that crud back here. This really helps break up a lot of that stuff. Now, working with chemicals, I highly recommend wearing gloves. You're probably gonna want some gloves, kind of a key. Keep your hands protected, keep the skin nice and protected. You may also opt for these right here. This I do if the gun is really dirty. When you pull out this bolt carrier assembly, these are shop towels, all right? So they're just disposable, come in a roll. I think like Scott makes them. So same that uses like toilet paper, Scott toilet paper, right? Basically a paper towel that's designed for shop use, a little bit thicker. These are great for a lot of things around the house, but this is good to actually, when you first pull out that BCG or if you pull out this bolt carrier assembly, really kind of get a first initial wipe down to kind of get a lot of the big stuff out, because then you can go back in and kind of fine tune it with these right here. So without further ado, let's knock this out. First things first, safety. Safety is always a priority here. Drop the mag, put that aside, rack it back. Check in there, make sure we are all clear, good to go. If you have it folded, unfold it. You may need something to push out these pins to get this apart. Sometimes it's a little stiff, and not only that, but this has a ledge here, unlike a normal AR, where you actually have a little bit to kind of push out there. Line it up, push it all the way through. Over here. Line it up, push it all the way through. But you might be able to get it out of there without doing that. So we have two parts here. You have a monolithic upper. And if you've seen my review on this recently, you'll know all about this firearm first off, but also this has almost 1,000 rounds. I think it's like 800 rounds, 780, something like that. So it's not terribly dirty, but it is good to keep these clean. I usually clean everything every 3 or 4 times going to the range. I don't do it every single time unless I take it to some event and I have people shoot it and they just go ham on it. Just burn a few cases of ammo or something, depending on what it is that we bring. So you have the lower. We'll do this last, so set that aside. Over here, and I should let YouTube know, this is all for proper cleaning and maintenance of a firearm. Proper disassembly, reassembly of a firearm. spring right there. Here's an entire bolt assembly with the piston. See that right there? There's also up here. You don't have to take this apart, but you can. This actually pops out. This is actually how you switch out this bolt here, bolt handle really. And it's pretty stiff sometimes. There you go. Because that releases this sled right here. And that is a full field strip disassembly, essentially, of the Jackal. Now, this is the part where I said if you have this, which pistons get real dirty up front, you can kind of see that there. You may want to go with the ballastol, or if you want, just go with the CLP, which I tend to do. I have a dropper bottle here, but they come in the big spray bottles. You have more spray bottles you can get, and it's just loaded up how you want. It's gonna go douse everything down. What this is sitting on as well is, it's not really a tech mat, but it's like a tech mat. This one I think came with like a tack pack or something a while ago. But you should get a mat of some type. Tech mat makes really good mats. Use them for years. I'll wipe down this spring. It shouldn't be too bad. See, it's not, the spring itself usually isn't too bad because that piston keeps a lot of that junk up front. Doesn't just dump it in there. Wipe this down. This is the part you don't really need, like I said, those little patches for. So these shop towels work really, really well for this particular need here. Then we can go and lube up some of the key points here on this with some of the CLP at the end. So that's good. So you can put some of your parts you're working on to the side. Clean this up a little bit. Might actually help keeping that easier to pull out from that sled. You can also use an old t-shirt for a lot of the cleaning and then cut up little pieces to make the patches. That's a really cheap way to go. Just don't use anything too flaky. I know people use Q-tips a lot, but you have to use a lot of them. Q-tips like to flake and get caught on stuff. That's good right there. Now the initial wipe down here is gonna be by far the dirtiest part. And just take a look at that. Like that easily comes off, even with just the CLP. If you really needed something more, you can definitely go with that Hops number 9, or the ballastol if you want. Now for this cleaning, I'm not gonna take apart the whole assembly here, but you can pull that pin, pull this out. There's a pin right in here. Very similar to an AR. And the end here is pretty good. Might start moving over to some patches. Pretty much just initial wipe down everything. If you want, you can take a look in here. Drop some in there. Just get an initial wipe down with this, what's left of it. A little bit more life left in this pad here, in the shop towel. It's really not too bad. The lowers on these, because of that piston system, like really tend to be very clean, like not too bad at all. A little bit on the trigger mechanism there. You know what? Normally I don't pull this out every time. I'm gonna do it. Haven't done it in a while. Let's see, here we go. You get a pin. This allows you to move the firing pin. Again, looks similar, right? And you have this pin right here. There we go. This one's really tough to get in. So unlike normally are where this post pops out, this actually takes a little bit fingers. You almost want to get a little pair of pliers to get that in. But there you go. Now you pulled apart the actual firing pin, the actual bolt face there. Might as well, right? Now let's take our little patches here. I don't think you really need to pull this out every time. It's not that dirty. You can save this step once in a while, but it's also good to inspect, see how that firing pin looks too, because you kind of want to know what you're dealing with. And a lot of times you can tell, like think about a DI gun, right? If you're shooting your AR, isn't this usually covered in just filth? Like even after 800 rounds or so, this is not that bad. So piston's doing its job. Clean this pin up a little bit, clean this up here. Right now, you may want to get, here's what you want to do, get a drop on the corner here and put that, don't put any drops directly in here because you might actually end up gunking this hole up quite a bit if you start dissolving solvents in there. So put a drop on the back end here. Now get your pick. And now go on the face there. Get all around the edges. They make little tools that scrub these grooves that you've seen before, especially on the inside where it locks, like for an AR. But the pick works too. Again, this is not that dirty right now. Use the back there. Okay. And as you clean with a CLP, the best part is if you remove most of what you put on there, it still leaves a nice thin layer for the most part of lubricant on there, which is nice to see. I'm actually gonna run this one more time in here, see if I get anything else. Well, a little bit. All right, now I'm actually gonna go and finish this. So this goes straight through. So you actually have these holes right there, you can kind of see. So if you want, here's what I'm gonna do. Spin this around a little bit in there. You can use a little tool or a punch and just push that through. Or if you want, you can go right to your bore snake at this point. It's a little bit bigger than the bore snake, but this part really isn't gonna be that dirty though. Yeah, see? Douse this down a little bit more. Cleans up pretty easily. Just trying to get a lot of these grooves. Make sure this gun stays as reliable as it is. I don't see any weird wear marks either. Nothing out of the normal. Scrub these down. Check this again. You can take your time doing this. You can throw a show up on the TV and watch some YouTube. I don't know, while you're doing this. You can just kind of, I used to sit all my guns that I've taken a few times at the range, just sit down and watch a show, and within like 30 minutes you got 4 or 5 guns cleaned. Just burn through it once you're running through it. It's really not too bad. The end here is a little gunked up. Let me go and grab, I'll use this a little bit. Run my nail in there. Kind of keep that piston clean. As best you can. It's a little bit of fouling on there anyways, just from using it, all the gas hitting it. That's it. So this is actually nice and clean. Has an interesting finish to it. Almost like a little bit of tough finish on there. But everything looks pretty clean. Looks good. All right, now, so you can get this back together in one piece here. That firing pin's gonna go straight through there. So you can see it's straight in a line. Firing pin goes in gently. These are called, what, cottering pins? The T-split there. Pop that in right there. You got yourself working bolt again. There you go. Much smoother now. Definitely feel that helped clean it up a bit. Done. Sled. We're really done. I don't think I've done too much of this sled yet. I really don't need, there's nothing, if you think about it, where this is in the firing group, it is nowhere near anything that's gonna be that bad, but I think maybe the bottom of it, if anything, gets a little blasted once in a while. Yeah, see, it's not too bad there. Done. See how this is looking, huh? Take a couple, and my brush, drop that in, and just go, you know, back and forth. Jump up here. I lost one. It's all right. That's not bad, right? No. A lot you can probably get your fingers into. Get into all these ledges as best you can. Alright, so the chamber itself has the very same kind of lockup that an AR has. Hence the same look of when you pull that firing pin group out. Yeah, this doesn't need too much. If you want to help with those pins to come out, you can probably drop a little bit of oil in here, and we'll do that here towards the end. Clean this up a bit. Now, the big one here, show you how this works. You want to run it through here. And put this in the barrel right there. This might be hard to keep it on camera, but I'll try. And just let it run down. Give it some slack. 223 556 is such a narrow barrel anyways. You kind of have to guide it down the first time. Alright, I'm at the bottom, so now you can pull it through. You don't see me doing it from the other side, but I'm pulling it through. I like to add some oil right there in the grooves. And if you want, something you can do is with a patch, you cannot add like a whole strip of t-shirt to this, alright? But at the bottom here, you can go and add a patch with some oil. All right, twist it up a little bit so it stays. You can't add too much. I'm telling you right now, it's just like a 22, you're gonna get stuck and you're gonna have a problem. So now you just pull it on through. So take a little bit of might. Gotta lose the patch yet. But that's what this is for. So there goes the first pass. I'll probably do a couple more. And then you'll probably want to dump some of that solvent down there, the Hops number 9, if you haven't cleaned this in a long time. I might try to keep a patch on the end this time, right before it enters, because it's a good indicator of how dirty this is, rather than, I mean, you can look down the barrel too, but it's a good indicator to be like, well, what's down here? All right, so I'm not gonna do anything else with that. I'm just gonna pull it through to right here. And traditionally you want to bring whatever you're running down this barrel to clean it, you want to go in the similar path that a round goes. So that's why we're going from the breech to the end of the barrel. So I'll run that patch straight through. You can kind of see that patch that fell out. Still a little dirty. So I just keep running the snake through couple more times. Do the patch method. I've always found rifles be harder to clean than pistols because it's harder to get something down that barrel with such a small opening there. That oil really helps though. But the cool part about bore snakes is you can actually wash these, just kind of rinse them out a little bit. I'm gonna do one more. No oil this time, no additional oil. There's probably a bunch in there still. Oh yeah, see? It just falls right down now. Take a check, just look straight down. Shiny, new. A lot of the specks that were in there are gone now. Now because it's monolithic, you could go and try to clean this up a little bit, but there's just not a lot that can be done. You can kind of see a lot of this oil on here. We can add a little bit of oil to the channel right here, just on top to help. Or on this side, depending if you're running the handle on either side. Just using the oil residue on here. But this is good, this part's done. And for the lower, particularly for the JAKL, honestly, like I mentioned, it's pretty clean, not a whole lot going on here. So a little bit of patch here. Just kind of clean up what you can, right around the mag well here. It's a little dirty. Clean these pins off. You can kind of see the difference, and I talked about this. This is essentially a normal, regular like AR lower, but you can see the back part that's been adjusted and added to there to make it that JAKL bufferless design. I wouldn't recommend putting any oil directly into this trigger group at all. Maybe occasionally drop an oil, like a little drop on the spring there, but really this does not need to be lubricated that much. You're welcome to clean out the mag well, especially this groove right here and underneath this release. Maybe around the actual magazine release button in there. Doesn't need a whole lot, but it might help, especially depending on how dirty this has gotten. And that's it. So now, lubrication wise, like I mentioned, maybe put a drop on these pins to help. But for the design, nothing there. None of this stuff really needs it. You could maybe put a drop right in there, just very little. You don't need a lot for this trigger. It is a nice trigger though. All right. Oddly enough, when I was messing around with this, I noticed the zip ties that are holding the button for my new Streamlight were loosening up, probably because of the heat up here. I mean, there's a lot of heat coming out where this gas block is, so it kind of ended up loosening up, so I cut it just because it might get in the way of the operating sled here. But this is a great light, little ProTac RM. It's a 2.0. You can slap it on this side, this side. I really like a lot of lights nowadays. Simplicity's sake, slap it here, because then you can go and run holding here, have your finger out, use your thumb as the button, which this allows you to do with that dual switch. So we'll do a full review on that light here pretty soon, but that cover's nice and stuck on there. Button and the plug for pressure pad. So pretty cool, nice affordable option there. So took it off for now. Might kind of fidget with it in the future here, show a full review on it. Step one, getting this back together. Sled, you'll see a couple of little spots here, some wear. This actually goes in here in a particular slot. The holes go in first here. Right there. You'll know it's in the right slot because you can't wiggle it. So you have the solid piece towards the end here. That's gonna slide in nice. And you're gonna line up the holes right there, like so. Flip it over, maybe add a drop Right here, you can kind of see where it wears quite a bit, just kind of wiggling around in its slot. But it's not needed, you know, it's not required. Put this in, make sure it's flush, so this actually can go and move freely, like so. You can wipe away this excess here in a minute. Bolt carrier assembly. We already did quite a bit of work to it, honestly, but I would put like a little dab here and there on some of these wear marks. This is not oil, by the way, this is just like fingerprints. You can see that there. It's kind of a weird finish too that we talked about. Piston in first. This also has its own grooves to go in. Trying to make sure it pops in the right grooves there. There you go. Now this piston does kind of shimmy quite a bit, and you are going to want to put the handle all the way forward. So sometimes you got to kind of rock it in. It doesn't go straight in every time. And now, as I've done it a few times now, there you go. So give it a little shimmy. You can see you already put the oil on there. That's good. I don't really need to put too much oil in there. Spring for your piston. There's a hole in there. I don't know if you're going to see it. Yeah, it's too dark. There's a hole on top of the barrel, kind of where the spring goes in. I don't know, if you want, you can put a little bit of oil on here, just because it does kind of dance around a little bit. Push it in, lock it in like so. We already lubricated the lower. Pop your pins back into place, if I can, from this angle. There you go. Nice and firm in there. Now if you want, before we take your gloves off, you can actually go and just wipe this down a little bit. You do have some oil on your gloves. You can use it like so. If you want, you don't want to see, this oil is going to dry up, by the way. It all just evaporates fairly quickly in your safe. You don't have to keep all that on there. We already oiled the rails. Wipe this down a little bit. With a patch, flip it over. Just clean it up a little bit. It's not a big problem to leave a little bit of oil on here. Like I said, it's gonna evaporate over time here pretty quickly. But there you have it, function test here. Beautiful. Trigger. Very nice. And that is how you clean and maintain your Palmetto State Armory JAKL. Well, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions about the JAKL, about the cleaning, about the disassembly, reassembly, if you run into any issues, you can reference the video. You can drop a comment down below. I'll be happy to help you out and answer those. Until then, be safe at the range, take care, and we'll see you in the next review.